Again, we'll have a watch list later today. What's important right now is how to properly use volume profile. The issue is everyone online is going to tell you how to use it. I will show you the simplest way to use it and what it's supposed to be used for. The yellow lines that bracketed off are not supports and resistances, and the middle area that's red is also not considered a support or resistance. It's gravitational. There's a bunch of things we can go over. I just want to get rid of the misinformation and how I properly use it, and then how you can also properly use it. It's really going to show you three things: blue horizontal lines, yellow horizontal lines, and a red horizontal channel. The blue lines are going to be your volume per price. The yellow lines are going to be where 70% of the volume action occurs, and then the red one is like the top 1, 3, or 5% of where volume happens the most. We're going to open it up, start from scratch, and show you how I properly use it. Let's get into it. So what I'm going to do is show you 4 stocks from yesterday that I called. I'm not cherry picking these. They're literally in order. ABUS is one for tomorrow, and so is PSA. But these are the first 4 that I called, so I'm just going to go in order of seeing them. What you're going to do is go to Studies, Quick Study, All Studies, Volume Profile, right there. The fact that I did that in one try for y'all on desktop know how fickle that can be. I'm a goat. That's all there is to it. So we're going to look at price action. As you can see, it's ascending. It's making kind of a channel, right? We know all this. If you watch my channel, you're like, oh, is that an ascending right there? And then it broke. Yes, it did. Right? Now, that's important, but it's also not important at the moment. Let's go over to volume profile. What you're going to see are 3 things: blue horizontal columns, yellow lines, and red lines. Let's start with the red line. We'll go backwards. So the red line, this is where 1% or 3% or 5% top volume happens. This is the channel where the most volume is going to occur. This is going to act as 2 things: a support and resistance, potentially, but more importantly, a gravitational force. If your price action is above it, it does have a tendency to pull price action back down to it. If your price is below it, again, it pulls it up towards it. This is where a lot of the median action is going to happen in a stock. And again, we're not going to cheat and look at the price action. Okay, we're just going to go off volume profile. What I do is, as you see in my videos, I just make a little baby line, extend left, extend right. I then make it into a channel, place it, double click red dotted lines. That's how I place it, and now if we go back, you can see it all the way across. So that's what that will act as: a support and resistance, potentially. You got to double check, but again, a gravitational force. The yellow lines is where 70% of the price action is going to occur. A lot of people are going to be like, this is going to be your overall channel. You want it to be as close to the bottom as possible. That's not necessarily true. All this is going to show you is where most of the price action occurs. If you break below the 70% average, you have a chance of lowering overall average, aka bringing the whole potential stock down. Same with the upper area. If you break above it and hold above it, you have a high chance of pulling the whole entire volume profile up. That's a sign of strength. The same will occur with the red line. If the POC moves up over time, because you'll be able to track these, if the POC moves up over time, strength. If it moves down, it's not showing strength, it's showing weakness, right? So tracking these, that's why I place them concretely, right? I can place, like I always do, just place some lines, extend right, extend left, redraw this channel, click, and then I do a big dash. The reason I do this: 1, I can show you it on the graph while not being presented and taking up space. The second is now I can also chart volume profile over time. In 3 months, this will not be the same. If it is, that means I've had 3 months of abusing a channel, and that's dope, right? That's moistness. But if it, shout to Bert, moist, if it doesn't stay the same and it moves, that's going to be dynamic and showing you how it changes. Knowing that if the POC moves up, it's strength, and same if the bottom line moves up, is strength, and I come in tomorrow and this is, if I come in tomorrow and this is moved up like this, I now know that this is now going to be a sign of strength, right? The last thing and the most controversial that people will misconstrue, that's a great word. I'm on today, dude. I used moist and misconstrued. What's up? This is what the volume profile is best for. It's going to show you supports and resistances. The yellow line and the red line do not show supports and resistances. What it does is the length of these candles. I'm not going to call them candles, I call them just channels, I guess. Yeah, I mean sticks, whatever you want to call them. What we're going to do is we're going to find that the large area of volume, the higher the volume, it's going to act as a support and a resistance. I'll say that again. If it's a high volume node, it will act as a support and a resistance. If it is a low volume node, it will be used as an area for wicks to occur. One more time. High volume nodes act as support and resistances. Low volume nodes act as an area for wicks.
I won't die for it. So what? I say, front yard, broad day. See Gucci, that's my Gucci, that's my Gucci. I hang in the jail with them hits, boy. Walk a flock of flame on the hood.
And I'll show you how this works out. I'm not even going to look back at price action. I'm not a cheater, pumpkin eater. I'm going to just do this, okay? Price level for supports and resistances. That's a high area. That's a high area. That's a little bit low. This is a high area. This is a high area. That's a high area. And this is more than I usually use. That's okay. This is a high area. Now, if we were to extend left all of these, and we're going to do that, let's extend left. And again, I've not looked at the price action. I have no idea what's actually going on. And if I zoom out, you will see how well that lines up. Now, is it perfect? No. That's the limitation thereof, right? Now, this looks good to me. If I'm just going blindly off of a volume profile, I have a very good indication of where my supports and resistance are going to be, because high volume areas mean there's a changing, right? If you think about a reversal, like this, right? It's coming down and goes back up, right? This area right here is going to have bulls and bears acting accordingly. This whole middle area, it's going to be all just bears probably, right? But as soon as it gets back up to this level over here, right? Once it gets over here to this level, that's where bears and bulls are going to kind of take advantage and kind of come in. So a high volume node being reversal zone makes a lot of sense in terms of economy, right? The economics check out. Now, let's keep the white as the supports and resistances. Low volume nodes are going to act as area of wicks because it comes in and it comes back out, right? It's low volume. It's just how it works out that way. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to take our line tool. We're going to set this as yellow. That's going to be our, let's see if that works for this too. No. So that's going to act as our spots of low volume. Actually, yellow is the color of the, no, it's fine. So here is a low volume node, extend left. Here is a low volume node, extend left. This is a low volume node, extend left, a low volume node, extend left, and then a low volume node, extend left. And again, let's go back to the price action. Right, so it checks out. You see how there's wicks up here, right? And again, it's a low volume area that acts as wicks, so there's no volume to push it higher, so it comes back down. Wick, a lot of wicks in here, wicky wick, wicky wick, wicky wick. A lot of wicks here, and then of course the price action over here is probably not as relevant, but again, you can see over here, lots of wicks. So that's how you properly use volume profile. Now here's the issue when I come to showing you the stocks. Am I going to have a chart with all this? No. That's why I don't go mightily into higher details about it. But that's how you should use it on your own time. Now, to clarify something that I think is super important for some of you is this. When it comes to the overall 70% channel, it can act as a support and it can act as a resistance. The reason it's going to act as a support is because down here is a high volume area, right? It acts as a support. Sometimes the bottom 70, if this were to be like this, let's say it was more like that as a channel, right? This is not going to act as a support. It may wick in this area, but again, if it builds up some wicks and it drops beneath it, that would make a lot of sense, right? And transversely, if we move it down a little bit farther, if we were to move it down, as a hypothetical, if the top here had a very strong line like this, it'll act as a hard resistance, right? So when we put that in the context of thinking of a volume profile, having a high node is a support. So this channel right here is acting as a support. Right now, is it relevant to the price action currently? No. But if it dropped down, and you can see all its price action, if it dropped down here, it'd be a support. So why is this acting as a resistance? Well, because it's a low volume area, right? There's not a lot of happening. This is where wicks are created. So until we see this POC move up, and then this move up, and this move up, this will continue to be an area of wicks. But again, you can see as it builds up more and more volume over here, it's going to become more and more relevant to the situation at hand. So seeing as it has low volume, it acts as resistance. Not only that, it's not going to ever act as support yet. So if this price action goes back up and it doesn't really increase any of its volume in that area, if it's just kind of like the same volume and this is still low, it may come down to here and retest it. And that's how we do retests, right? We'll think, oh, let's come down to here and retest it, which lines up perfectly with these. And that's going to be a retest is going to be, right? If it blasts up higher and this becomes, over here becomes a huge node, I can expect a retest to be there and then take off, right? That's how I properly use volume profile, right? High nodes, supports and resistances. Low nodes where wicks are created. The 70% channel shows you a possible channel to play off of, but again, it just mainly shows you where most of the action's happening, and the important part is placing it and then tracking it, right? If it moves up, price strength. If it moves down, price weakness. The POC can be gravitational. That's what we're going to talk about next. We haven't really talked about that much. Again, it can be gravitational. It's going to be right in the middle of all the price action. As you can see, it can act as a support because, again, it is the highest node of volume. So it kind of acts almost like an EMA line, if that helps you put it in context. As you can see, the farther away from it you get, the harder you're going to crash, right? And see how it got kind of far away, but kind of came back really softly, right? It acts almost like a gravitational force. It's like your sun in a solar system, right? The planets going around it, so on and so forth. If we have an extremely high volume day, or week or month, whatever the time frame is, and it moves up here, right, and the price action's down here, it's going to really want to rip back higher. Now, with that also being said, if the price action drops beneath it and holds down and doesn't go back up, again, that's going to be a sign of weakness. If it goes up and holds, right, because of the volume profile holding up there, that's going to be a sign of strength, right? So as this moves up and down, it's going to be very, very important. Let's check out a few more, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go do some independent research real quick and find some old volume profile charts that I drew and how they look now. But that'll be for in a few minutes. Let's check the next one. All right, so I'm not going to look at price action. So I didn't see what's going on with B or DRE. Let's just do what I always do, okay? And this is very quick. Extend left, extend right, redraw as a channel. That POC. Man, I got a steady hand, boy. I should be a professional gamer. Do that. Red. All right. So we know this is going to be the center point of the action probably. This is going to be a sign of strength or weakness over time. Let's track our supports. So right here, here. And this is all subjective. I mean, some are going to be farther than others. Some are going to be weaker than others. Right? Not every stock's going to be like, well, it has, this percentage. Let's just go with that. Let's see if it actually went left. Yes, sir. So just given that price action, does that look pretty accurate? Yeah, it does. And again, you can make modifications. I'm going to definitely take this line and say that's definitely going to be the support. And again, I'm not incorrect because you can see this is going to be a low volume area where there's a lot of wicks at. But again, I would argue for trading purposes, I want that to be my entry point. And again, is this a resistance? Yeah, it is. And again, it doesn't break above this. Low volume above it, a lot of wicks. and then this is a perfectly placed one, and so is this. If we go back over again, what we can then do, I'm just going to activate these and move them. So this is a low volume. This is a low volume. This is low volume, and so is that, and so is that. These are our wicks. This makes sense too. Let's see. Wick, 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 wick. A lot of wicks over here, a lot of wicks right there, a lot of wicks over here, a lot of wicks over here. So you see how that works out really, really well? Super simple, right? You just try to find wicks and supports. And again, for actual price action, I wouldn't go purely off of this, but again, this is a really good support level for sure. Right now, again, you'd be a little bit too hot, a little bit too low because it's a low volume area. It's not going to go down there that often. But, you know, that's right there would be a perfect buy and entry for that price action. And again, when it breaks through with steam is a great sign of strength. Great buy-in area, great buy-in area, right? So it's not rocket science, my dudes. And I said yesterday, Dre is getting close to being a buy-in area. And what's it doing? It's right at one. So looks really good. Let's do one more together. I'm not cheating. All right. Damn you, wick. There you go. All right, so again, let's just not even bother with the channel. You understand how that works. Let's just do the wicks one more time. High volume, high volume, high volume, high volume, high volume, and high volume. And again, does that look good? Yep. Looks like there's supports to me. Looks like the resistances to me, almost clear as day. And again, now let's do low volume, low volume, low volume. And again, it's all subjective, right? Whatever you think is comfortable. And again, you got to go and do this yourself and test it. Are those where wicks are going to be created? Looks like there's some wicks here. There's some wicks there, some wicks there, wicks there, wicks there, wicks there. I like that a lot. Give me 1 minute. I'm going to go find an old stock and how the volume profile has changed. So here's a really good example for you. If we go over here and look at all this price action, it makes sense, right? This used to be our POC, right? And again, the farther away from it you get, the more intense the moves are going to be. As you can see over here, not very far, not very intense. It got pretty far away and came crashing down. Now again, I would say price action is more important than this, but it's a very nice tool to see. The farther away, the more intense the gravity is going to be. As time went on, the stock kind of dropped and whittled down. The POC has dropped. What else has happened? The whole channel has dropped a little bit. Now, has it dropped a lot? No, not really. But again, it's a sign of weakness. Now, would that deter me from trading it? No, absolutely not. It would just be something that kept in the back of my mind saying, hey, it's dropping. That should be a bit concerning. Now, again, if price action drops down to here, into the $78 range, you may see the whole thing shift down. And then again, you're going to have to kind of think, is it dying or is it just consolidating? So on and so forth, right? But as you can see, I tracked this weeks ago and now it's shifted down. 2 more points I want to make. So one more point is ascending channels and ascending stocks in general. This is not the best way to trade them. Volume profile is extremely good for finding supports and resistances to make steps up. As you can see over here, Cat likes to kind of channel out and then it makes new channels, breaks up, makes new channel, breaks up, so on and so forth. This is a great way of finding supports and resistances. And again, you can place that right in the middle here. It's a high volume node. I'd be more considered to put it down lower, right, and make the low volume areas for this particular stock be the supports and resistances. So it just depends on the scenario, but again, high volume node support, high volume node support, high volume node support, right? It just depends on the situation at hand, but ascending ones are not going to be the greatest thing ever for volume profile. As you can see, low volume gap right there. It's still taking off and going higher, right? So I think that's important to understand. The second and last point is that volume profile is just another indicator. It should not take precedent to price action. Now, I would certainly place my resistances and supports without volume profile and be just fine. But again, it's crucial to understand that volume profile does add a nice bit of extra drizzle of accuracy for you, right? Now, I think what's really important to understand too with volume profile is that you also need to take into account your normal volume, the horizontal line. That should also become important to you because high volume days, whatever the color of that trade is, usually if it's green, it means a green reversal to go bullish. If it's red, it means a red bullish or red bearish reversal to go down, right? So make sure you keep that in mind. But again, what's really important to understand is that volume profile should not take precedent over price action. You should always use price action first, and then you use your indicators. I use RSI, stochastic, vortex, EMA lines, and volume profile. That's it. And again, this is just one more tool to use. It shouldn't make it more hard or difficult or stressed. It should make it a little bit easier. So again, to summarize the 3 or 4 important things we got to talk about. High volume nodes equal supports and resistances. Low volume nodes equal a place for wicks to happen. The 70% channel can act as a support and resistance. It depends on how much volume is in that spot. What's important for that is to track its history. You place it, you wait a few weeks as you trade the stock back and forth, and you see if it goes up or down. If it shifts up, that's a sign of strength. If it shifts down, that's a sign of weakness. To be clear though, you still want to buy stocks that are weak because that's a value. So if it goes down, all right, we're getting to a viable area. I could probably buy in. If it goes up and you're not in the trade already, you may want to wait for it to pull back. Lastly is the POC. It will act as a support and resistance more times than not, just given the fact that it's a high volume area. And from the rule 1, we know that's the case. What should also be a case is that's also gravitational force. The farther away from it you get, the more hard it's going to pull down on you or pull up on you. That is in fact the case unless it really takes off without it. If it can shift the POC higher or shift it lower, that's a sign of strength in itself. Right, so you kind of have to let it play by ear and take your time and read into it. But that's it. It shouldn't be much more complicated than that. If you enjoyed the breakdown, let me know. If not, I don't know why you sat around for the last, 20 minutes listening to me blather on about it. There will be a watch list later. I'll post that later. But for now, have a good rest of your day. We'll catch you guys next time.